were married for quite some time, had a family, worked very hard, just spent a whole lot of time, just not really spending enough time on us. And it just kind of put us in a place where we weren't really prioritizing our marriage.
Just going through life, it just, I think our goal was to become financially stable for the family. And so that takes more hours away from the household. And then we come home and our energy is devoted to the kids. And so we became essentially roommates, where it was just the only conversation that we had was, hey, what's the schedule tonight? Who's taking Jackson here? Who's taking, one of the kids here?
Without putting our relationship as a priority, it was just not a good situation.
There was resentment on my end, like, okay, I'm going to work, I'm doing this. And I looked at Brendan and was like, come on, like, I need you to be more present or here. I knew we were struggling, and it was just like, hey, I've been looking into things. Why don't we try this thing called marriage intensive? And initially, Brendan was like, no, like, we're smart people. We can figure this out. And I think my response at the time was, I know we're smart people, but we haven't figured it out yet. So we were still in that phase of like not figuring it out. And then I think like 2 more months had passed by and our relationship took a turn where there was infidelity. And then ultimately it was brought back up on the table, like, are we willing to do this?
We were just kind of a sinking ship, and I thought we were kind of just, I didn't know if we were going to go in different ways or how we were going to, if this was ever going to resolve itself or we were going to be able to work through it. And she ended up reaching out and finding us.
Yeah. So. And if you look online, there's so many, I always laugh about it because there's so many of these books, like, help your marriage, do these 10 steps. Like, it's a quick fix if, one of you do this in like the first 30 days. But nothing worked. And when I was looking for something to help us, it wasn't going to be a self-help book. And then we found the Marriage Hub that was Christian-based. And I knew that there was just a different feel. Like when I read the testimonials and all about the belief and the vision of the program, I thought, like, okay, if something's going to help us, it's got to be this. So when they say intensive, they mean intensive. Like, you go in on a Friday and you are there until about 9. Yeah. And then Saturday you wake up and it's like, all right, we did some good work Friday.
Yeah.
Let's see how today's going to go. And it's really good because it's in a really small setting. And there was one other couple there that we got to hear their story. And there were a lot of similarities between us and the other couple. But then Greg and Bobby, we still to this day, we looked at them and they were so kind to each other. And we're just looking and like, gosh, they're so sweet. And you can't help but not smile.
It's infectious.
It is. And so, you work all day and it is mentally draining, but in a good way.
It's just such a safe, they make such a safe setting where you feel okay sharing, you feel okay kind of, putting things out there, and you're not worried about, being put down or, setting yourself back. It created such a positive way where we were all kind of working together to grow and, regain what we had first had. That was so interesting in the intensive is when we were coming across a lot of the problems, we would say the same things about each other. And for years when we were arguing, I'm literally thinking like, yeah, she's just saying the same things as me.
That was doing copy.
Like echoing me. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, there's no way. And then when we actually laid it all on the table, it literally was this, you were feeling exactly the same way I was. And it was just such a shock really to really be confronted with that and see it.
And when we did go to the intensive, it was like our situation was very fresh and like a lot of emotions, difficult emotions. But through Greg and Bobby and just going through the program and
Just trusting the Lord.
and actually talking to one another.
Yeah.
We didn't do that, but just having them there, guiding us and constantly just listening, it was just very needed.
This was so needed for us to kind of sit shoulder to shoulder and just kind of go through this and go through the Word together and, just kind of be guided through this.
We learned these different techniques on how to have conversations, how to argue fairly, how to really rely on God and make that our stronghold in the relationship.
I wish we would have done this 15 years ago. So it was just so nice to accentuate each other's strengths and, put each other first, which is something that we never were able to do and sustain it for a long period of time. Not to say it's perfect now, but we kind of have a program, and through the heavy lifting, it's been great.
So we're not quite finished with the 15 sessions, but there was 1 week that we didn't do the heavy lifting.
Yes.
And only 1 week.
That we had our biggest setback that week. And
We did.
Our biggest arguments, and we just started trending in the wrong direction. We didn't connect. We didn't nip the little things in the butt every week that we typically do.
Right.
And kind of have a fresh start every week. We just kind of let it slide. And then when we finally had time to sit one-on-one, we were both boiling. With all these things that it was so hard to even get to the thing because it was all these little things.
Yep. Yeah.
And it was it's just such a reminder of how important following this heavy lifting is and what it means to us.
The intensive has just impacted us just by showing us that it's okay to prioritize ourselves rather than the to-do list or, oh, we have to do this because, this won't get done. We have to make that space and time for us because then it will have a positive impact on everything else.
The marriage intensive it gave us structure. It gave us a plan. And it, like you had said earlier, it's always we are smart people. And, if we could get on the same page, we could make this work. But we never did. We never could get on the same page. So now that we are on the same page and we kind of keep each other uplifted and keep each other on pace with hey, this week we're going to do it on this day, or we have this going on. What about we hold each other accountable?
Yeah.
And then we work through it, and we're open and we're honest, and we don't skip, we don't cheat. We really just push through it. It's been great. One of those, I never knew that we could be this good.
And I think that when Brendan said to me, well, we're both smart people, we can figure this out. We couldn't have figured it out.
Thanks.
No, sorry, but we could not have figured it out.
I'm with
we
you.
needed strategies. If you're coming to the intensive right now, it's just, you are in a situation where you're possibly considering it.
Yes.
You're struggling somehow, some way, and
we all are.
yeah.
Everyone is. It's just, if you're here, you're around the right people, and the Lord has your back, the Lord's in your heart. This is the right place.
Yeah. And what if you got to lose? You're already struggling. That's what we kind of hear. We're already struggling. This is our last ditch effort.